Good day, everyone, and welcome to the world of the International Fab Talks. Fab Talks is all about connecting with the right kind of people. You all know that very well. We have bonded and connected with more than 650 individuals across the world. Let me put that right, 650 guests across the world from 21 different countries and 22 states of India. Don't you think it's a beautiful vision to be connected with different people for a right cause? That is to create awareness, to make people understand the expertise that others possess. We think that we are always right, we are always correct, or we are always great. But when we meet individuals and guests on this platform and get to know about their expertise, get to know about their thought process, and above all, the wisdom that they have gained, we learn a lot. We are just a drop in the ocean. And when we mix and merge with the others, we get to make this world a beautiful place. So International Fab Talks is nothing but making the world a beautiful place, concentrating on peace, harmony, justice, and equality. Hello, Dr. Ravi. Thank you so much for being a part of our journey. Thank you very much. And thank you for obliging to be a part of our journey.
Thank you. Thank you so much. It was something that I was looking really forward to after going through your all the videos, and I think that you people are doing a great job trying to, meet different people and interview them about their own expertises. And I'm really grateful and thankful for you to have me here. Thank you.
Thank you for being humble, doctor. Thank you very much. That's the beauty, right? So International Fab Talks loves to connect with people who are intellectuals and who never waste their time in unnecessary things. They only utilize their time for the good of the society, for the good of the universe. Let's draw positive energy and wisdom from our celebrity guest. He's none other than Dr. Ravi Prakash. So I'd like to now know about you personally now. Your professional expertise we've heard now. We'll go back to that again after some time. I would like to know, why did you take an interest you in all of this? Because you've already completed your MBBS, then you've taken up law, then you've taken up physiology, then you've entered into all of these fields. So why is it that you've come in such a vast? Why did you put your feet everywhere, or maybe why did you want to acquire knowledge from all different sectors? What is it that you really want and are looking for as an individual?
So, as I told earlier, it is something that I find very interesting. The very idea that a human being can survive as a society, it's a very strange idea. If you look into the hierarchy at which brain is observed, and till now also, we have our own vices as animals also. The animalistic behavior is there. But the the cortical development, if you know a little bit about the cortex of the brain, the frontal cortical, the prefrontal areas, when they develop, at least theoretically, we cannot say with 100% surety, but at least theoretically, that part is the reason that we can reason, we can use logic, we can use judgment. And this whole phenomenon that human beings exist in society, it's a very interesting phenomenon if you look into the nature of how the brain is built up. So if you ask me that why I did so many things related to uh, so unrelated things people may think, but I would say that there is a connection between all of them.
That's true.
Connection is the psychological configuration of an individual and as a group. That is the nearest way I can explain to you. Because an individual, suppose you are with your friends, okay, so your behavior will be different. And suppose you are uh, with, suppose you are in the parent-teacher meeting, or suppose you are in a place where it requires strict, what to say, behavioral codes to be followed. Then your behavior will automatically come and it will set there exactly. So, for example, no matter how much you want, you cannot jump over the traffic light. No matter how much angry you are with your subordinate, you cannot hit. But there is a contradiction. You want to do that. There is an animalistic impulse, and there is something which is stopping it. So, if I have to metaphorize, if we human beings are like subcortical areas of the brain, then the law is the cortex of the brain. The legal systems, the legal hierarchies, the legislatures, these are like the cortical circuits, which keeps the subcortical parts of our brains in control, in check. You cannot do just because you want to do something, you cannot execute that. Why? Because I am there. I am controlling you. And how it does, that is the actually that is the surprising element of it. Why are people still following the law? Why is it not all anarchy? Because they are systems. Because you love people. You want your families to be safe also. You want your safety also. You want your family's safety also. And you want things to be in order. So creating an order in an anarchy, that is where the law comes into the picture. Law basically it helps. If you look at the law, it is nothing but collective judgment of people. Otherwise, the government made a law in legislature. You can overthrow the government. Another government will come. You want a law to be in a particular way. Okay, but because we all follow and we want to follow, we want to be in this state where there is an order, where there is, where there are good elements in the society like kindness, support, civic sense. That is why we follow it. That is why we value the law. So, law is as much psychological as it is manifested in the papers. And that
Yes.
is why many a times if there is something called as interpretation of statutes. It was a whole subject in itself. But if you look into the interpretation, how a law has been quoted somewhere in the legislature, but how a judge is interpreting that. In that process, there's a lot of critical thinking that goes to the judge's mind also. That is why there are different forms of interpretation. There is literal interpretation. There is logical interpretation, convenience-based interpretation. So the same one statement has to be interpreted in different ways when you're dealing with different kinds of situations. Okay, but how does that interpretation come? It's a cognitive process. It's a thinking-based process. It's a judgment-based process.
Yes, doctor. Thank you for sharing all of that. Now, amongst all of the positions that you hold today as a psychiatrist, as a doctor, as a lawyer, as a psychiatric researcher, etc., where do you feel more connected? Where you feel more drawn?
It's a tough, it's a tough question to answer. Um, I would say before earlier I was more connected with my research works, psychiatric researchers, and that inquisitiveness is also one of the reasons that I did so many things. Because if you are inquisitive, eventually you will try to go into the depths of it to understand. So as a researcher, I was very connected to my research works. But since I started practicing, there is a different kind of incentive that you get here. There's a different kind of flux of emotion, positive emotions that you get here. When you make a person smile, when a person is free from his misery, then he comes and says thank you. And people use all kind of superlative terms. You're God, you're this, you're Guru, all those things. But I just call myself a messenger of science. I'm a messenger of science. That's all. But with that, armamentarium also, if you are able to make something good in someone, okay, and you see the difference happening, that feeling is unequivocal. Actually, there is nothing which parallels that feeling. So, as of now, I would say that I am more connected with my patients as a uh, not healer. I don't call myself healer at all, but more like a technician, you can say. The technical aspects, if I'm able to, give it to someone and the person is any better, after executing them, that is a very, very feel good factor that I experience. So you can say that more of a psychiatrist, I'm able to identify myself as a psychiatrist. But as I told, it all the lines they become very blurred when you have to explain something to a person. For example, you want to explain the negative effects of alcohol to a person. You have to bring the law there. If he's not that much considerate about losing his family, or he's not that much considerate about any consequences, then why will he leave the alcohol in the first place? Or why will an abusive marriage, a person who is perpetrator of the abuse, why will he try to stop himself? So there you have to also talk to the person as a lawyer, and it works. It works. Even in psychiatric setup, talking as a lawyer works. That much I can tell you.
That's something good and very positive to hear, because many of the people would want somebody like you to mediate and to advise or guide and counsel, the couples, in order to patch up and to, take the family ahead, especially if children are involved. We request all the parents to take care of how they manage their relationship as a husband and wife, or as a father and mother. We'd love to know about your childhood. What kind of a childhood did you have? If you are comfortable, you could share that with us. What kind of a boy was Dr.
So I think I was very, uh, from childhood only, I was a very inquisitive person. I think I was a very average student, not like a very top ranker all the time. But later on, my grades started improving, and very average childhood, very simple childhood. But the only thing that I feel different about me is that I was very inquisitive. I always wanted to know what are stars, if there are planets, what will what would be happening in other places. I was very inquisitive to know that if a person, why I am not at the other person's position in feeling that emotion. That question I had in my mind for a very long time. That some person is feeling happy, why I am not able to understand exactly how happy he is. What will it take for me to understand exactly what the other person is experiencing? Why that information has been blocked from me? Because I wanted to understand basically why a person you know behaves in such way. We want money, status. Why? What is wrong with being a beggar? In many times, in my troubling questions towards my parents, I've asked them things like, what is wrong with being a beggar? He's happy. He's eating food. If it is only about eating food and all, why do we need a mansion and everything? And the question kept, haunting me for a very long time. So I think I've always been inquisitive about how the mind works from the childhood only. And other than that, very simple, very average childhood. I went into uh, all my whether it is MBBS, PG, I all cracked them in my current attempt, first attempt. And frankly speaking, I did not have to put so much of effort. So people who talk about struggles and all, I think my life has not been so struggleful, strugglesome. It has more been like a smooth, but a constant drive has been there to understand things. And later on, after MBBS, I understood the concept of suffering. Suffering is something. Actually, people who are out of the medical profession or healing profession, they don't understand suffering. They think that they know. But seeing a person in pain and being a doctor where you are helpless, you cannot do anything. A child comes to you with a tumor, for example, and he's in continuous pain, continuous agony, and because of scarcity of many factors, resources, money, data, our medical resources, we are not able to help him. So seeing the person constantly suffer, it it changes something inside. I understood the concept of suffering, and alleviation of suffering, relief of suffering became one of the reasons for my progression after MBBS. And I understood that the one of the strongest or most intense form of suffering is actually mental suffering, psychological suffering. And that led me to that direction. So I think what I often say is that people should come to medical wards if given the privacy and all the things taken care of. They should at least have an idea. They should know that what exactly is suffering. So people talk about these pseudo-scientific things so easily. I will take care of my heart attack, but they don't know that if really something happens to them, what will happen to the parents? They don't know that when really a heart attack happens, what is the kind of pain that they undergo. They don't know that if really they get a stroke and they have to live their remaining life in paralysis, what is the suffering that they have to endure? So, because we being lucky, or whatever you want to say, I would only say lucky only because see, we use this term 5% chances of heart attack, 10%. But if you are in that 5%, for you it is 100%. So we are lucky, that's all. And that is why we do not know what is the meaning of suffering in the first place.
Yes, doctor. Thank you for
So,
sharing all of that. Thank you so much. You were sharing something else. Would you love to share
so,
something else?
so that is what I was saying. That so people should get some kind of exposure to medical profession from second person's perspective, obviously, to understand the concept of suffering.
Thank you, Dr. Ravi. Thank you very much. We'd love to know about your school life. I mean, what part of your school life is, I would like to ask you this question in particular. When you were in school, which sir or teacher made you feel good, made you feel respected, made you feel, you know, like giving you that importance? Because we have certain teachers and sirs quite rude and selfish, or taking sides, pampering others, or giving importance to the rich and the posh kids and neglecting the middle class or lower middle class. So you as an individual, as a little student, which teacher or sir attracted you, and you, I mean, the qualities, what was it that you saw, and who is that teacher, and how did he or she impact your life at that very young age, if you can share that?
There was one teacher, Dani Madam. We used to call her Dani Madam. She's still there, and I'm still once in a while I'm in touch with her. I think that there are certain things which I have removed from my statements, but I have seen things like bullying, being bullied, being an underperformer, how it feels, and you come across certain people who are able to recognize your certain gifts, talents that they are there inside you, and they're able to motivate you. So at some level, I would always be thankful to Dani Madam because she was the one. I think, and she has not told many things to me, but only few sentences that she used once in a while here and there, saying that you have a special gift or you're not using your potential. Uh, don't get carried away about what others are saying. I can see it inside you. These few things, when you say it with a good intent, I think that the way you say it matters a lot. The intent, the intensity of how you say it changes a lot of things in the person. And certain things, what she said, still it is inside me. And I think that in those moments where I was kind of hopeless, kind of gloomy, those words, those encouraging sentences, they helped me a lot. So she was social science teacher actually, and social science was something I did not like. I liked science, I liked maths up to some extent, but social science I did not. I was very poor performer in social sciences. But she more than complaining about the social, that was the advantage, good quality of her. She was not so much focused on just getting marks or number. More than that, she was interested to make me see what is my speciality or my uniqueness. She was able to see that. And with due respect to all the teachers, they did their job. Some teachers, they are just they're teaching because they have to teach. Some teachers are really into the profession. So when you are really into something, interested with the core of your, each fiber of your being, when you are into that, that makes a very big difference because it creates the impact when you say something. So for teachers, this is very important thing to understand that for children, once they enter the school and they are spending 9 hours, 10 hours in school, then school is bound to become a second family. How you treat a student will eventually become marked into his personality. Okay, so many a times we come across couple of people who change our lives. I think she was one of the people who changed a lot in the way I think. And I will always be indebted to her.
That's beautiful. That's very nice. And you share it with such a lot of love in your heart, in your eyes, in your expression when you were talking about your
It
teacher.
was,
You have a lot of love and
uh,
respect for her. I could understand that.
yeah, I have very fond memories from her. I
That's
wish to meet her. I have not met her for a very long time. I really wish to meet her sometime.
that's great, sir. Many of your friends, relatives, and colleagues would love to know this. What is it that you learned from your mother? What is that quality that you admired in her, and what did you learn and inculcate in your own life?
I lost my mother in the COVID 2020, and I think that was the biggest trauma for me. People say different kinds of trauma. So even though I'm a psychiatrist, and but coming out of that trauma, that grief, it took me very long time. And there are still things inside me which are not properly, arranged because of that trauma. So it's very unfortunate. What I can say is that I was not able to spend that much of time with my mother. This is a problem in Indian children. They keep postponing. Although they love their parents, but they keep postponing hard tomorrow. Let me finish this work. I will do that. And all of my life, I think up to the school, up to even 12th, there's no doubt, I was most attached to my mother only. But after 12th, as I went into MBBS, the amount of time that I wanted to spend, it started reducing. And the only regret that I have now, as of now, is that I should have spent more time with her. Because this is one thing that I often tell people, that children, they don't see from the parents' perspective, that after you go away from your parents, the parents become lonely. There is an emptiness, that loneliness, which cannot be filled up. That is why you should constantly be in touch with your parents and try to interact with them basically, and try to understand what they are thinking, what they are feeling. Although it is not practically feasible all the time, but effort should be there. Okay, there is nothing that I have not learned from my mother. I learned, I think that in my life, the most unconditional lover that I have seen is my mother. And her affection, it's not about, people think that affection is about more like kissing, hugging, saying good things. It is so subtle. Now, when I go back in my childhood days, I realize the way she used to look at the way she used to make food for me and used to bring it to me, serve the food. All those things, there were so many moments, that there's nothing that I have not learned from her. I think that the biggest thing that she has given me, biggest thing is the idea of unconditionality. In my whole life, what I have always thought, being a student of science, that for every equation there are two things, RHS and LHS. So you give something, and as a reciprocation, you get something. But she was one person who I have always seen in the giving form only. I could hardly do anything for her, and yeah, it is something that hurts me when I very very I don't want to go in that zone, but it is something that I will always carry in my heart. And that was the point where I understood that there are things which are unconditional. And there's one more thing, that many of the things that I learned from my mother, I try to execute on my daughter. So I think that if my mother, I would not have seen my mother in that way. I would not have executed the affection and love that I give to my daughter in this format, which I'm able to give now. So the biggest gift that she has given me is the idea of unconditionality. That no, goodness sake, and it's not about me. I often used to say that when she used to come out of home, all the animals, cows, dogs, they used to make a circle around her, and I was not able to reach her inside that, because she used to give unconditionally to everyone. She was kind of saintly in that term that you want to use. So her loss was really a big loss for me, and. I think that the first, school is definitely parents only. The way you treat your children, that becomes their future, that how they will treat their children.
Hats
So
off to you. Dr. Ravi, hats off to you. I really like this. This was the wow moment for me when you shared about your mother. The way you spoke so highly of her, that's really nice. And I'm sure from above, she'll be blessing us both today. For me, she'll be blessing me because I asked you that question, and she'll be blessing you in abundance because you've spoken so highly about her today on the platform. That's really nice. And you know what's the best part you've shared, sir? You said that you learned the unconditional love from her. So that is that unconditional love where we keep giving without expecting anything in return, right? So I could really resonate with what you shared, and I could understand that feeling which from within you were sharing. Hats off to you for that wonderful journey which you've shared with us today on the platform. Thank you very much, and may her soul rest in peace. And hope you overcome the loss very soon, because I can just feel it that you're still missing her even till
yeah.
date. That's really nice. Dr. Ravi, apart from being a professional, you are a father as well now. You've mentioned that you have a daughter. What has fatherhood taught you?
Oh, a lot. Fatherhood has changed me actually a lot. I've become more sensitive. I've become more observant. So in child psychiatry, the things that we used to talk about theoretically, I have started observing that, what are the attachment styles, what the child expects, and a lot. When my daughter was born, there was a small not hole. There's a VSD kind of a thing, but it was very small. But I understood the the fear of I experienced the fear firsthand, what a parent would be experiencing if something comes on their children, and I often tell this to my daughter that people have this experience I experience when they hold the child in the hand, but for me it was the moment I saw her heartbeat in the ultrasound actually. When we were pregnant, my wife was carrying her, and the first we were, it was not very clear, that the investigations were still not clear, and the the observation of a small heartbeat beating inside, it hit me so hard, you know, that the way I think it changed completely. I became responsible that moment, that very moment, that someone is coming and I have to welcome that life, and we have to use all our measures, all our efforts to keep that life safe. From that moment, the journey of a father started before she came, basically. And I was still doing my MD, and we were not so well off financially. So there were issues with there. But the journey that ensued from there, and the experiences, the emotions that I felt, it is unmatched. This is what I often tell people. Nowadays, you will see many couples, they're opting not to get children, not to have children. I often tell, okay, you don't want to have your own children, at least you should go for adoption, because the feeling of being a parent, it is unmatched, it is unparalleled. And she taught me sensitivity. I understood how to handle a baby, how to be sensitive, and uh, not talking about gender things, but girl babies and girl children, they have something with father. There's something so special bonding with the father, and then when they come, they hug, they look, you just forget about all the pains that you have. Okay, it just vanishes in those few moments of uh, interaction. Your pain, your frustration, everything just vanishes. So it's a very special experience, very special. I would say that being father, being mother, it is something people should not miss.
I'm sure you're going to share your time for the second time with us to give us more knowledge on how a marriage should work and what are the solutions if you're facing any of the challenges that you must be undergoing in your life at present as a married couple. We will have all the solutions brought out by you in our next session. Thank you very much.
Thank you so much. Thank you so much for having me.
Thank you, sir. Thank you very much for being a great guest. My dear friends, with this, we'd like to sign off now from the International Fab Talks. If you like what the International Fab Talk team is doing, stay connected with us. Like, comment, subscribe, and share to the International Fab Talks. Above all, don't forget to love your family, love your partner in the right way, give them the right kind of respect. Like, comment, subscribe, and share to the International Fab Talks. Above all, protect your family. love your children, and love and respect your spouse in front of your children. And at the same time, protect the environment and be a blessing to the universe. Stay safe and stay blessed. Thank you, sir.